Though the first round of March Madness is in full swing, it wouldn't be the Saturday edition of Locked On Women's Basketball if we didn't chat about some international prospects in the 2024 draft. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Welcome. You are Locked On Women's Basketball. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. My name is Hunter Cruse. I'm your Saturday host, covering the WNBA Draft and prospect scouting. I'm joined by my co-hosts Adler and Shafer. Covers the WNBA with a focus on player development and the game within the game. Lincoln also contributes to our WNBA draft coverage at the Next. So to open this up, though, we'll start off with the top international prospect in this year's class, Leïla Lacan. What is the pitch for Lacan as a top prospect? But obviously, she's not going to go in the top five. Probably not, just because of the international standing with her.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with the skills that I think we really highly covet when it comes to translating raw ability and even some real ability into progress, into stardom, into really solid production. And that it starts with the processing. We've talked a lot in the past, let's say 8 months, about being able to really see and really feel for a player's processing speed. And I think when it comes to Leïla Lacan, there are not many guards that we've had in recent years, just overall, who see and feel the game in the way she does. Her ability to read the defense, her ability to read her teammates, her ability to, just create space with that and move faster than the game around her. At her age, at the competition levels that she's at, whether that's, the I know this one, the U18s or the EuroLeague, Eurobasket play, LFB. For her, that's just a really strong indicator, and especially not even talking about her ability to get downhill, her handle, the hopefully improved shot, but just starting there, that's how I think you can be confident in the translation.
Yeah, I agree that the number one thing that I'm looking at with Lacan is her processing, her instincts, her vision. One of the heuristics that I've picked up from people on NBA Draft Twitter and the men's side is if you have somebody who is pointing on defense and pointing on offense, on knowing where their teammates are supposed to be, that's a very good sign of their ability to process the game. And there's a point that sticks out in my head from her last game that she played, where she scored 0 points in 30 minutes, but still was not a negative player. She was not a negative player in that game, where she cuts into space to draw a helper away from the corner and then screens the helper and is pointing behind her to the wide open corner shooter to get a pass out there for a wide open corner three. That's just really good instincts and really good understanding of space awareness and where her teammates are and where the ball should go. The shooting is definitely a concern. She's only at 27% from three this season. And I'm not a huge fan of the mechanics, but the instincts are there. The athleticism is there. She projects as a really solid guard defender. She's got great length at the point of attack. And the passing is pretty interesting. If she can just make enough shots to keep defenses honest, she can be a very good WNBA player.
Yeah, and there's a lot to really love about her the processing when it comes to the help defense too. So you've got someone who at 5'11", can really defend the point of attack and play the backline help as a guard, as a wing. And again, the versatility, I think this is one of the things we've talked about with different prospects. There are so many ways that she can fail in different aspects of the game and still be a positive player.
Yeah, she's shooting 33% between both competitions this year.
Which basically pulls her numbers up around 30, 2, 3, 4% over the past like 2 calendar years, I think.
Yeah, my favorite stat is that she leads the French league in steals per game. Like as 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 a teenager, the instincts, the ability as a helper, and also the versatility to also defend at the point of attack. Like she's carrying such a large offensive load that it's really impressive how much she can do on defense as well.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we at on her for our board right now?
Lincoln.
She's pretty solidly in her own tier. I think she's in third for all three of us.
Mm-hmm.
She's just got such good instincts, such good size at her position, and you bet on instincts, processing, size, and athleticism when they're all coming in one package, and that's just a really enticing prospect.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I have her on the same grade. I think we're all around a 55, third best player in the class for sure. I think, talking about what we had before with the processing, it's a high floor, but also with the shot, with the mechanics, with it being, there's only so much usage you can take on both ends as just a player before you hit the usage principle. I think, we're talking about someone whose realistic floor is still an impact WNBA player. The ceiling isn't, superstardom, but it's still like a real good impact player. It's the distance between like DeJounte Murray and like Alex Bentley, I'd probably say.
Yeah, the ceiling is an all-star. Like for me, it's possible she gets there, but if she doesn't, still like you said, quality impact contributor. I entered the year having Aaliyah Edwards above her, but honestly, it's more been what Lacan has done rather than what
Mm-hmm.
Edwards hasn't done. Like she's kind of propelled herself into that next tier for me.
Totally agree.
So after the break, we'll dive into Australian forward Nyadiew Puoch. But before we get to that, here's a word from our sponsor. It's demon time on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Demons and Goblins are the newest and most exciting way to play at Prize Picks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins get you different payouts. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. Prize Picks also offers Apple Pay for easy and quick deposits into your account this basketball season. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA with code LockedOnNBA. All right, so before we get back into talking about Nyadiew Puoch, are you watching ESPN on your TV all day?
Yes.
Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel. It's programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest sports stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Nyadiew Puoch is our second international prospect to talk about here. What is the pitch for you, Lincoln? I know you're the highest of us on her game.
Yeah, the pitch is that she's got good size. She's 6'3", and I would guess she probably has a plus wingspan as well.
She has 6'5" wingspan, +2.
6'5" wingspan. Then I guessed correctly. Um, and the pitch is really built around her defense. She's big enough and strong enough to hang with bigger post players. She's quick enough to hang on the wing. She's a good help defender. Her size and length provides some rim protection. I believe her nickname in Australia is the Block Doctor, which is that should raise her a few spots on our board just because it sounds sick. And The offense is a little bit behind the defense right now, but
A little?
if there's, it's a lot behind the defense. But if there's just enough offense to keep her defense on the floor, that's a really fun basketball player. She's been a solid corner 3-point shooter in her 2 years at with the Southside Flyers, and that's really like the pitch is defense, corner threes, and just enough else offensively to keep her on the floor.
Right. Like this is, I don't think there's any way to describe Nyadiew Puoch in that could give you a better sense of what we're dealing with here than just what if Letitia Amihere was a wing? Like that's just what we're dealing with here. The defense is super advanced. It's, I think, outside Cameron Brink, we can argue about Aaliyah Edwards, but I would say outside Brink, not Amor, Jesus, not even close. Puoch is the best defender in the class and also projects to have the best defensive ceiling in the class. This is someone who really navigates the point of attack well. Lincoln, like you said, has really good processing of the back line, help for her age. It's hard to project that getting from good to plus when you're talking about a teenager, but it's still there. She's really good at doing the little things, those closeouts, the chasings, taking the right angles. It's all super impressive. And yeah, like you said, what can she do on offense over the past basically calendar year and a half? So that's the WNBL World Cup U19s and the WNBL again. About 36% from three on just over 100 attempts in 60-something games. From the line, where we can also include the developmental stats because free throw is a free throw. She's about 70% over that span. So, it's not great in terms of shot indicators. The mechanics are bad. I mean, the mechanics are bad, but we've seen it go in enough at this point. It's like, I think really just a question of how much do you believe in that and how much are you willing to really put into it for a low volume spot up shooter?
Yeah, and she kind of fell out of the Southside rotation as they won their WNBL championship this year.
Because their coach is whack.
Because their coach is, as too many coaches in the history of basketball have been, more interested in playing low-ceiling 29 and 30-year-olds than a really interesting 19-year-old. But, she fell behind Lauren Jackson and Mercedes Russell in the rotation, which is a respectable spot to be. Considering their resumes,
they've combined for 3 WNBA MVPs.
That is correct.
I think we can say pretty confidently that Puoch will be the first international off the board in the draft.
Seems
Oh,
likely.
I would not necessarily say I'm comfortable with that prediction.
But if she's in the first round, are there any teams in Pacific that you just really like for her? From a developmental standpoint, we're talking about elite defense, shooting's iffy.
Well, if we're talking about teams in the Pacific, I like Seattle.
I like Los Angeles a little bit.
Who'd you say?
I like Los Angeles. If you can pair her with Cam Brink long term,
where do they pick her?
that's
Nyadiew Puoch at pick number 4.
Did they trade 12? Do they still have 12?
Did they ever have 12?
I don't know what I'm thinking of.
I think
It's
Atlanta
12 went to Atlanta. 12 went to Atlanta in the Jordan
12 went
Kennedy
to Atlanta. Okay, yep.
And they traded 10 or 8 to
their third pick is down at this is the content people really come here for. Is their third pick at number 28? Yeah, the third pick is the 28. That's wild. Borlase time.
Puoch at 8 or 12 would have been very interesting to me, but I guess that's not
now. Puoch at 8 or 12 sounds
outcome.
very depressing to me.
I could be interested in Connecticut or Minnesota for Puoch as well.
I could be interested in New York there too, just given what these teams do with their internationals. I think again, Seattle's first pick is
Seattle's first pick is 14. Yep.
I was going to say that. I have the website. I have across the timeline up. Shout out Curtis.
I also have across the timeline up.
Shout out Curtis. But yeah, I mean, again, Seattle knows what to do with internationals. They love drafting stashes when the roster's already full. I wouldn't say the roster's quite full this year, but it's close enough that you could get away with this. That they are a team that really, really loves drafting BPA. That's best player available, and it's really easy to imagine that among that, for a team that isn't exactly in love with picking up French prospects, Nyadiew Puoch, if she's available, would be, I think, a genuinely exciting pick for them.
All right, so let's flip over to Carla Leite, 5'9" guard, out of France. The pitch for her: elite pick and roll operator. Elite pick and roll operator, can get downhill. Good live ball passer. Off ball, not much there. Defense.
That is an overstatement.
There's nothing there. I have seen her make a spot up three before. I saw one, but
Which
she is
part of the context there is that she's playing like 39 minutes per game.
She's playing 39 minutes per game as the only legitimate ball handler on the team.
Yeah.
She's 19 years old, playing 39 minutes per game for a team in the top French league, and her center is also like 17 or 18 years old.
And you think her center can be good at hoop?
Her center is just like the most boomer bust prospect in the last decade. Like there's no
just the greatest gap between like skill and raw talent ever.
So she averages like 5 assists per game, and it's like top 3 in the league. But
I was to say she was leading the league in assists like a month ago or something, right?
Yeah, because she sets up so many shots that her big just can't make.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's 6 assists per game.
6 assists per game now?
It should legitimately be 8. It should genuinely be 8.
Yeah, Leite in France this season is scoring 15.5 points per game with 6 assists, 2.5 rebounds, and 4 turnovers per game. She's shooting 20% from 3, but 88% at the line on solid volume.
And she's also been a very, very good three-point shooter dating back a number of years. This is basically the first time she's gotten extended play in a league or in an international tournament in which she is also, not just shot pretty damn well from 3, both off the catch and off the dribble. The form is what it is, and that's going to be annoying at the WNBA level. But I think, and Lincoln, you can touch on this, or Hunter, you can also definitely touch on this for sure, where I think Lacan's processing pulls her in. Leite is obviously a very advanced passer, but I think there are concerns, not in terms of, being a bad player, but just in terms of, we get French guard passing prospects every other year that are interesting and enticing in some way, shape, or form. And I think Leite is familiar with Marine Johannes. She's familiar with Marine Fetho. She's familiar with, she's similar to these players in terms of, I think, what the pitfalls, the possible pitfalls we're seeing are.
Yeah, and we can report, though, that she has a lot of WNBA interests. That's another thing that we don't always see with international prospects. So we'll see. Probably a stash. Hopefully she needs a couple years to hopefully kind of better position herself to make an impact at the next level.
Yeah, and I think that's the question you answered about basically what I was alluding to. Because like a lot of French shooters, she needs a lot of space to land. How does that affect when, in the WNBA, off-ball defense is tighter, harder, the closeouts are way better than they are in LFB or, even in Europlay. The passing it's really good, but actually coming out of the deceleration in those last couple steps, actually being able to proactively read the defense, or not even proactively read the defense. She does proactively read the defense, but getting a step farther to actually actively manipulate the defense, how does that relate to, being able to handle that level of usage when defenses get better in the WNBA? And also, I think, there are aspects of not just the 3-point shot, but the mid-range, when, which is a decent enough weapon for her to keep defenses off balance. She seems very off balance a lot in her finishes and in her mid-range shots in a way that, like I said, a lot of LFB players are. And the concern is less, she's going to always be this way. She's 19. It is what, that's why we like. There's a lot of years to improve. But it is also, there is not a great track record of just the French basketball system improving on these specific flaws.
Yeah, so where do we have both Puoch and Leite on our board?
I have Puoch in the mid to late first round, and Leite is going to be probably a mid second round grade for me.
Because of the positional value and sort of the ease of fallback traits, I have Leite above Puoch personally. I have her both above by half a grade, so a 45 versus a 40. And I have Leite sort of late mid round and Puoch near the end of the first round. Just in terms of overall ranking, this isn't where they're going to go.
Yeah, same for me. I think positional value is kind of what pushed it up for me
Mm.
there. And then in our final segment, we'll talk about Isobel Borlase, another international prospect out of Australia. Passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up with peak performance from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed to Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, so Isobel Borlase, our fourth prospect here, she's without a doubt the most decorated Australian teenager in a couple years. Like she was all WNBL first team, I believe. Like she was one of the best players in this league this season. Um, what is the pitch for her, Lincoln? And yeah,
Yeah, the pitch is that she's the most productive pro teenager in the world. She's 19 years old. She averaged 16 points per game this year in the WNBL, playing a lot of minutes for an okay Adelaide Lightning team. Um, she also averaged about 14 points per game for Adelaide last year. And this year she's playing alongside like Brianna Turner and a bunch of other players who have like high level skill sets. There's a bunch of mediocre shooters on the team that put up a lot of attempts. Um, and depending on which season of Borlase's you think is the more accurate one, she could be one of those mediocre shooters. She So the thing is that her statistical profile in her age 18 season and her age 19 season are opposite, because her age 18 season, she scored about 14 points per game on 59% from the field and a really high number from three on low volume. But then she increased her scoring volume in her age 19 season, but her efficiency went down in every possible way. She only shot 48% from two and 28% from three on higher volume. But, she's a really solid transition player. She likes to grab and go. She likes to run the floor in transition. That's where most of her rim attempts are coming from. She's fine moving in space. She likes to play with pace, and she just puts the ball in the hoop, which is the goal of the game.
Would you call her a hooper?
I don't know if I can quite get to hooper, but she is a fine basketball player.
Yeah,
she's also,
I mean,
yeah.
No, Hunter, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's the youngest prospect in this year's class as well.
Right. How do I phrase this? Y'all ever watch Chelsea Dungy in college basketball?
That's a name.
A name that if Lincoln unmutes, he might be able to say he recognizes.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Chelsea Dungy.
Right, so you can be a very good scorer and also really just have a skill set that's very obviously not like projectable to the pro level. This is something that WNBA struggled with back in 2021. This is, I don't think it's an issue when it comes to, Borlase necessarily. No one's taking her, cross my heart, no one's taking her top 10. But, I think there's a strong possibility for going over Puoch, going over, Leite, the players who are interested in this level of play, at least that we know of. And the ceiling, the projection is, tough. Not much of a shooter, even if you trust the higher percentage at a lower rate, it just really wasn't there in any of the international play when we have similar competition levels and it steps up. The pace in the half court, there just is no real creation there, and that's the real issue for me. It's if we're thinking about them like watching a freshman in college, there's just really none of the signs we would normally pick up on that this is a player who's, projecting to really do a lot with it. I mean, we watched Talia Scott this year, and she's fun.
Yeah, the thing with Borlase for me is if shooting's her skill set and that's her skill, she needs to be a movement shooter, and she's
Yep.
just not really that.
And if it's not her skill set, then what is?
I think what some evaluators are gonna kind of pitch themselves on Borlase is just production. I know some people are more on production. It's the thing with like being really high on like Elizabeth Kitley and being high on these players that don't have like the greatest translation to the next level, just because their production versus like we talked about Leite, Puoch, Lacan, their upside is just significantly higher.
Mm-hmm.
And you could also argue that their floor is kind of better as well.
Possibly. With that in mind, where did you grade her?
She's a 30 for me, like really low 30.
Yeah, she's gonna solidly fall into the clump of players with a 30 grade, which is gonna be somewhere around 18 to 21st, I think, in my grades.
Yeah, I had her at like a very, very soft 30, but like even I don't feel great about that. There are fun, good players. We put it a soft 30 or a 20. This is around the realm of Mackenzie Holmes. This is the realm of Elizabeth Kitley. This is the realm of Alyssa Utsby, Jewel Spear. You get the point. So I mean, I think
Very productive players.
yeah, very productive players. There are obvious, you stick them in Euroball in 3 years, and you're like, yeah, that's a good player. The only real comp I have that we've come up with is like, imagine Li Meng, but now imagine she was like an average shooter. Doing that with well.
A lot of Australian commentators like to notice the physical similarities and the similarities sometimes in their game between Borlase and Steph Talbot.
Which makes no sense.
Which to me is, I think that Talbot reads the floor and is a significantly better playmaker than Borlase has ever shown herself to be. But
and a way better defender, and they play different positions.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. I'm not yelling at you.
It's an interesting archetype that Borlase fits into. That's a difficult translation to a higher level.
Yeah, I mean, she can grow 3 inches.
All right, so thanks from Locked On Basketball, your first listen every day. Join the team of the back next week for continued coverage of women's college basketball. Make your second listen Locked On Sports today, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone, and enjoy some basketball.